Can you tell me a little bit about the development of your feminist identity?
Sure. Well, I was very much a product of the 50s initially, and got married like I was supposed to right out of college. My husband at the time went into the Air Force for 4 years because at that time there was a draft, and you either enlisted or you took your chances of being drafted. It was right after the Vietnam War was just starting. And so I did the normal things, and I went with him and followed him where he was stationed. And in my second year of marriage, he was killed in an airplane crash. So nothing was the way it was supposed to be. And I couldn't imagine my life. All of a sudden, here I was a widow at age 23. Really didn't know what to do with myself at the time, and had no vision of how do you be a single woman, let alone how to be a widow. So I guess in some ways I just went on a search for my identity. You know, who was I, alone basically, and just took a teaching job because that's what I was trained to do. Found myself very interested in the lives of the kids rather than in the grammar that I was trying to teach them. So knew that I was more interested in the counseling part or in the psychology part of that, and frankly was just sitting and reading one day Betty Friedan's book, and it hit me like a ton of bricks and opened up my eyes a lot. And I realized, that there were a lot of barriers that I had to my own life, and so I entered a doctoral program. Or actually, I had already had a master's. That's right, at that time. So I entered a doctoral program, and I think that in that program also it was a very exciting time, where women were just starting to understand that, in fact, there were no women who were newscasters. There were no women in positions of power, basically, and that this was a sexist world. And so in my own career as a psychologist, my very first job, thanks to my mentor, who was Maddie Gershenfeld, and she asked if I would do some work at this women's school at the time, which was a very exciting place in Philadelphia, called the Institute of Awareness, and it was mostly women who were housewives and kind of had nothing to do during the day, and the school became very popular. Hundreds of women went through this program, and I became the leader of the consciousness raising groups. So it was very exciting to work with women and to see them change and develop, and all of us kind of opening our eyes together. And it was a personal growth group, but consciousness raising was a major factor in it. And that was the beginning of my career. So it was very much grounded in feminism.
Right. Tell me a little bit more about what in Betty Friedan's work really struck at your kind of core.
You know what, I can remember more than just the factual things about it. I just remember exactly where I was sitting, and I was reading it and thinking, well, why do I put that kind of limit on myself? Or yes, that is true about the kind of relationships that I might have had with men where I don't feel, I think it was the empowerment. That was the main piece of it, of empowering myself. And then I did have a second marriage, and my husband at the time said to me, because someone had asked me, another mentor had asked me to lead a therapy group, which I was so excited about, my first therapy group, and he said, they asked you? And that was the beginning of the end of my marriage, because I knew that I needed some self-esteem to be able to do the work that I really wanted to do. And I realized that I wasn't going to be an equal partner in this relationship, and there were other issues, but that was really a main thing. So, and even at the time, I liked being a single parent. I raised really sensing that I could do that, and I had my own identity with it. And very much, I think the idea that with Betty Friedan's book was that this was a movement. I wasn't alone with this, and that the personal is political, and that it was really a social issue, and it wasn't just my own unconscious whatever Freudian theories were around at the time that were hurting me, but it was also the society.